You're watching CHCO TV's gavel-to-gavel coverage of the December 10th, 2025 Special Council meeting for the Municipality of Eastern Charlotte. I'm Florence Mitchell. In today's meeting, the 2026 municipal budget will be presented to Council. Following that will be a question and answer period for the public. So let's join Council at Macadavic Place in St. George.
I wanted to say good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming out. The purpose of this public presentation tonight is to release our draft 2026 operating budget for public input and questions tonight. Tonight we have an agenda, and I've called the meeting to order. What I need now is a motion to adopt the agenda tonight. I think all of you have the agenda in front of you, and Councillor Lee is going to make that motion, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Question or comment on the motion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Contrary, and that's passed unanimously. Okay, the business tonight is, the first one is the presentation of the municipal budget 2026. First of all, I want to first thank CHCO for being here tonight. Florence Mitchell's in the back, Vicki Hogarth is here, and their driver they brought along tonight, Patrick Watt, because the roads aren't too good tonight, so I want to thank all the people that did show up tonight, because it isn't a very good night out there. Did you know that 2 weeks from tonight is Christmas Eve? So this time is coming along pretty fast. I want to thank Amy Carter. Can the camera pick up Amy Carter right there? No, you can't. Right there. She works very hard for us, and she's keeping the minutes tonight, and she's going to be doing the slides and all that sort of thing. So big wave to Amy. Thank you very much. And tonight, we also have Kathy Neves in the very end. She's our treasurer, and she'll help us guide us through some of the questions tonight. Okay, let's move along. Our first slide up there, the overview. Here we go. It is my privilege and honor tonight to present the Eastern Charlotte 2026 operating budget, representing the entirety of Council. This is the third budget determined by the Eastern Charlotte Council since amalgamation. I want to start by introducing Council, who will collectively decide the 2026 draft budget. You don't have to stand, but you can wave to the camera. Deputy Mayor David Hatt to my left, Councillor Dedirakis, Councillor Hatt, Councillor Lee, Councillor McKay. Councillor McCoy is out working tonight, so Councillor McCoy is one of our councillors. Councillor Thompson, and of course, Councillor Tidd tonight. Eastern Charlotte has 3 tax authorities or zones. And now that is big news. The reason I want to say that is because when this council began, I think we had about 8 tax authorities. So we had probably 8 areas that were different tax rates. Now we get it down to 3, which is good news. And those 3 areas are, of course, the village of Blacks Harbor, the town of St. George, and the rural area of Eastern Charlotte. So everybody outside the Blacks Harbor area and the St. George area is the last area. The next slide, services of Eastern Charlotte. Eastern Charlotte provides a variety of mandated services to residents, such as general government services, protective services, garbage collection, transportation services on the local municipal-owned roads. I want to make that clear, on the local municipal-owned roads, and recreational services and events. Next slide. The 2025 assessment for Eastern Charlotte is $776,285,300. It's up only by 1.8% from last year. As some people may recall, earlier this spring, the province of New Brunswick announced that property assessments would freeze for 1 year. While this relief may be welcome news by many, it does create a few challenges for municipalities. Next slide, please. However, despite this challenge, we are able to provide full relief to property taxpayers in Eastern Charlotte, withholding the tax rates. So property taxpayers will see a property tax bill that will not be impacted by increased value to your property and not be impacted by an increase in the tax rate. So that is good news. If you don't get anything else from this tonight, that's the big highlight tonight. There will not be any tax increases, according to the draft budget. While this freeze holds new spending, increases on existing costs has been relieved by less capital funding available for 2026 in order to hold that rate. For 2026, the tax rates will remain as such. Black Sabbath at 1.41, St. George, I think is 126. 126, I think that the slide may be a little bit off, and the rural areas is 0.38. So the same numbers from last year are going into this year as well. The industrial non-residential rate will remain at 1.70. Community funding. Each year, the municipalities in New Brunswick receive an equalization grant from the provincial government. For Eastern Charlotte, the 2026 grant funding from Fredericton will see an increase of 2025. However, this grant remains significantly lower than pre-municipal reform amalgamation. Before amalgamation, we were receiving $725,842, and in 2026 is down to $447,077. Economic funding. In the previous 2 years, the council set aside $200,000 for economic development initiatives that were not implemented. For the current year, the budget has been supplemented once again with $200,000 to support the anticipated launch of multiple housing developments. Housing has been and continues to be a priority of this council and most councils in the province of New Brunswick. In order to secure the construction of these housing projects in Eastern Charlotte, rather than elsewhere in the province, these incentives are necessary and will greatly assist in moving ahead several projects. Fire cost. Fire protection is a huge part of our budget. And let me preface by saying that we are fortunate. We are very fortunate to have a dedicated team of volunteers at the Eastern Charlotte Fire and Rescue under the direction and leadership of our fire chief, Justin Johnson. Our volunteers deserve to be safe at all times, and this council is determined to make sure that by allocating $951,182 in the 2026 budget to fire services. While this is a 4.05 increase over 2025, this is mainly due to an increase in fuel and repairs for trucks in the fire service. Garbage. Garbage collection and disposal continues and always will be a huge part of our operating budget. This year, with a reduction by the Service Commission in the disposal cost or the tipping fees at the landfill, we anticipate savings of over $22,000. That's a savings of $22,000. This is the second straight year for decrease with landfill costs. Garbage collection costs. This year is our first full year of recyclables, now being managed by Circular Materials. As a municipality, our goal in the next few years is to encourage more recycling to continue lowering our total garbage costs. Since 2024, we contracted Faro to collect garbage in all areas except Blacks Harbor, where garbage collection is still done by Public Works. Garbage collection costs will experience a decrease of 2.35%, bringing our total cost of collection to $565,885. Our total cost for garbage collection and landfill is $761,885 in 2026, which is a 4.52% decrease with garbage costs in 2025. Policing costs continue to grow under the RCMP. This year, it increased another 2% to a total of $2,274,689. This is clearly our largest cost to our municipality, is policing. Regional services this year will cost Eastern Charlotte $632,793, down $53,391 from last year. The Regional Services Commission provides services which are mandated by the provincial government. The services include development planning, building inspections, landfill operations, along with several other services that have grown as part of the municipal reform of 2023. Eastern Charlotte, like other municipalities in our region, pay into this mandatory services. Animal control. For animal control, Eastern Charlotte continues to partner with the New Brunswick chapter of the SPCA. The SPCA handles all animal registrations, investigations, and enforcement. The total cost for animal control has a slight increase of $404 from last year, so not a large increase. Insurance. Since 2025, we have seen a realignment of costs associated with insurance. In 2024, our costs were over $230,000. $230,000 just for insurance. Our total cost for insurance coverage in 2026 is budgeted as a slight increase from last year, down to $149,007. So we started in 2024 at $230,000. Now we're down to $149,000. So that's a good drop. The 2025-26 Parks and Recreation. The Municipal Parks and Recreation Department, which is headed by Drew Dugan, takes in a broad spectrum of facilities and recreation spaces. Of course, this includes the arena in Blacks Harbor, which is approaching its 60th year in service. Other recreation spaces include the Canal Beach, the splash pad, baseball fields, playgrounds, and park areas. Due to an increase in operational cost and planned improvements, the cost for parks and recreation in 2026 will be just over $1.01 million. In 2026, we will complete a multi-year improvement to the area recreational facility with over $475,000 invested into the arena from the gas tax funding. The Public Works Departments, which will continue to be funded solely by the previously incorporated areas of Blacks Harbor and St. George, has a total cost of $1,057,998 for 2026. This is an increase of 4.5% over the previous year. And I want to thank Ron Groom and Rick Levitt, who are in charge of the Public Works Departments in those two areas. They do an excellent job for us, and we're very lucky to have them. As with the fire service, increases for Public Works most of it is mainly due to an increase in fuel and supplies. Overall, the general operating fund for Eastern Charlotte is budgeted at nearly no increase in cost, with the 2026 expenditures totaling $6,945,410, less than 0.1%. So that is a very good number to come in at. Eastern Charlotte remains focused on establishing a new child care building in the area. We continue to work with the service provider and hope to have a better understanding of the total cost after tenders have been received. This project may, and I emphasize may, be partially funded by utilizing the following options. There's capital funds in the 2026 budget, possibly the gas tax funds, possibly capital reserves, and possibly long-term borrowing. 2026 capital funds are assets and asset repairs. As mentioned previously, due to a freeze in property values and holding the tax rates, the capital fund for Eastern Charlotte will see less funds in 2026. The capital fund will decrease from $513,000 in 2025 to $280,324 in 2026, a 45% decrease. In 2025, Eastern Charlotte utilized over $775,000 of the Canada Community Building Fund, formerly known as the Gas Tax Plan. This year, we completed paving on streets and roads in Black Harbor and St. George, roads that are owned and maintained solely by the municipality. For 2026, Eastern Charlotte will have access to over $396,000 under the Community Building Fund, and the plan for utilizing these funds will be finalized early in 2026. As of 2026, the municipality's total debt is $2.58 million. This majority of this debt was incurred for past projects such as the new water tower in St. George. That was what, about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago? 66 years ago, okay, and new fire trucks now in service and water and sewage line upgrades. In 2025, over $70,000 in debt dropped away. Over $70,000 has gone away. Tax rates in review. 2026 budget holds the tax rates while maintaining a cap on new operational costs. Utility fund expenditures for 2026. Looking at other funds for Eastern Charlotte, the utility fund is the account for the water and wastewater operations for Black Harbor and St. George. Residents outside of the municipal utility service areas do not provide tax revenue for the utility fund. It is entirely user pay. For 2026, the utility fund will see a slight increase of 1.8%, with costs for 2026 being over $1.61 million. With increases in costs such as power and fuel, along with additional capital funding for improvements in 2026, the water and sewage rates for 2026 are as follows. In St. George, the water and sewage rates will increase by $12 for the total for the whole year, from $556 in 2025 to $568 in 2026. Is there, how many times do they pay that a year? Twice? Twice. So that's $6 per bill. In Black Harbor, the water and sewage rates will increase by $10, from $4.96 in 2025 to $5.06 in 2026. That's over 3 payments during the year. That's $3 per bill. Both utility networks will see an increase of 2% to the water bills. Improvements to the water system is a primarily focus for this council, with 3 major utility projects underway. The water exploration improvements to Black Harbor, the water exploration to St. George, and lagoon upgrades to St. George. In addition, council continues to work with On Globe Engineering and provincial partners on improvements to the water quality in Black Harbor. An application for new capital improvements to the Black Harbor water system is expected in 2026. And I want to remind people that this is a priority for this council, has been and will continue to be. In review, the 2026 budget is challenged with frozen property tax assessments. However, the budget will continue to provide relief for property owners, withholding the rate for next year. As mentioned, this will result in less capital funds in the 2026 general fund. With planned improvements and rising costs with the water networks, there will be an increase of 2% on water and wastewater rates. This council remains committed on moving forward with several large projects, such as the establishment of child care in our area and improvement to the water system in Black Harbor. So in review, tax rates. We are holding the tax rates while holding the new costs for 2026. At this point, I believe, that's all I'm going to do. What I'm going to do, I want to listen for the public first, and then we'll go to council. I want to, So at this point, we do have a microphone open over here. If you just stand up and just tell us your name and civic address, and I have staff on hand that may be able to answer some of the intricate questions. But if anybody would like to ask any questions, this is your opportunity to do so. I'm going to go once. I'm going to go twice. I'm going to go 3 times. Okay, now what I'm going to do at this point, folks, I'm going to go to council. Just maybe council, I'm not sure. I want everybody to have an opportunity. Maybe I'll just start to my left and work my way back. Ladies first, Councilor Dederakis at the very left. Do you have any questions or concerns or anything you want to say tonight?
I mean, first of all, we had asked for a copy of the presentation. This is our first time seeing it, so I just wanted to make that note. Yeah, a couple questions. So for insurance, it's $149,000. Did we shop around, or is this the only? Did we shop around for other insurance providers?
Yeah, that was part of a tender.
Okay. For Public Works, I saw that there was a 4.5% increase. How is that broken down across all the wards?
Not for Public Works, is this St. George and Black Sauer?
It's just St. George and Black Swarber?
Yeah.
So last year, the outside areas, they were paying a portion of that for recreation purposes. Is that the same thing happening this year?
20%. You're correct.
Okay, so 20% for outside areas. Let's see. Yeah, the St. George has $1 million in debt. I'm aware of the water tower. Are there any other costs? Are there any other things that could be contributing to that debt?
Yeah, yep, so fire trucks, we purchased some fire trucks. There was, the air packs, fire equipment.
Could you turn on your microphone, please?
Sorry, so yes, there was the water tower and fire trucks as well as fire equipment are the main ones. So yeah, that's the bulk of what we have.
Okay, and so in the last year, how much did we pay off that debt?
It was like $50,000 came off of it,
Okay, so it seems to be like a $50,000
less
segment.
compared to
like
2026.
every year, it's about $50,000, would you say, in the last 3 years?
We had a lot of debt that just dropped away. There was
Okay.
some very small ones that came off, so $50,000 less next year compared to 2025.
Okay, and for the childcare portion of it, you know, that it is a priority of council. You know, there was an emphasis on maybe be funded. So I believe that's a question that should be determined when we complete our budget. We do have a deadline, March 2026, and if we want to see it to fruition, then we have to be serious about how much money we're going to be allocating. So if I understand this is just a draft session, but that could be something that we can talk about more after this meeting. Now.
I just want to answer one question.
Or now.
I'm not going to try to get you off track.
Sure.
We dropped $70,000 in debt last year, not 50.
For
70.
St. George.
Well, yeah.
All of our debt.
Yeah, all our debt is 70,000.
Well, before we were amalgamated, we had over $1 million in debt. Actually, it was less than $1 million in debt, so, but it makes sense that we did go up, because if we're getting a fire truck and we are sharing the expenses for fire equipment and things like that, so that would make sense. When it comes to the funding portion of the childcare, is it a discussion that we should have here, or is it a discussion that we should have after? Maybe, Your Worship, you could help guide the conversation. Sure. For the childcare portion of funding, because I understand that you emphasize the maybe portion, and I want to know, I'm a little bit hesitant with that maybe. I want to know if this is going to be a discussion about the funding portion here today, or is that something that we're going to discuss at a later date?
Yeah, it'll be a later date, because I think we're still waiting for the numbers to come in for what it's going to cost to build this, and we have to tender it out once we get the cost for the tenders. I guess at this point, and I'm speaking for council at this point, council needs those numbers before we can move ahead. So before we can realize where we're going to get the money from, so we got to know how much money we need.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I understand that. But for me, you know, the budget serves multiple purposes. One is to plan for the coming year. The other is to plan for multiple years, right? Because there are projects that take multiple years to come to fruition. Mm-hmm. One of those examples is with the Canal Beach project. That was, there was a ribbon cutting ceremony, I remember when we were on council in our first year as Eastern Charlotte, but that was something that was done to councils before us. So, you have to think long-term, what kind of projects we want to do. And it's also important because we have certain objectives that we want to carry out to the next council, right? This is our gift to them. And that's why it's important that we figure that out. So those are my comments.
Good. I'm going to go to Councillor Hatt.
Yeah, so the recreation number, I understand last night there were some questions about that, so if everybody'd like to get their pen out here for a minute, I'll definitely break this down into a little bit clearer picture. So let's talk about revenue. So revenue is $360,919 that is budgeted for the facility, and your worship, Jason can correct if any of these facts do not look right, but seeing it came off the sheet that were provided, I would think that they would echo it. So anyway, the revenue will be $360,919. So A, for rentals, B, that comes from cost sharing from the RSC. That was before amalgamation even happened with the funding model that came out of that. So we know that it said that it was $1 million budget item on there. So first off, I would like to clarify, for some reason it gets very cloudy here that everybody thinks that the arena costs $1 million of budget. That is not true, and if anybody would like a copy of this sheet that I have in front of me, that anybody can have it. So first off, labor of Parks and Rec area is $181,352. The rink cost of that is $179,567. The labor and administrative support is $37,000. The halls that are underneath that umbrella of recreation that is everywhere is $80,000. The playgrounds and parks, as in ball fields, is $225,000. The museum is $13,000. Festivals, $66,000. And Canal Beach is $8,000. So if you put that all in and put the revenue that budgeted into it, the whole thing comes to $705,518 for recreation. The arena does not cost $700,000, and I want to clarify that here tonight. For some reason, there seems to be misinformation that's out there of what recreation entails. Recreation is a service that is provided, and I'm sure that there's other municipalities that would love to have a 1/3 income back on their major recreation facility. So, thank you, Your Worship.
No, I want to thank you for mentioning the arena. The arena, as you and I, we feel is very important because we were part of the Black Cyber Council when amalgamation happened, and as a council, that's our job as a council to provide services, and having that building down there at the arena is very important. I'm going to go to council.
I would just like to clarify that Parks and Rec and Recreation is a huge umbrella that falls under a lot of different things. This building falls under that. So
right.
wages fall under that. So as the numbers that I have gone through, I'm sure that there's a few thousand that's been rounded here. But anyway, I would just like to clarify them numbers tonight.
Great, no, I appreciate that. Councillor Thompson.
My only question or concern is the way we're holding our tax rate. We're taking our bank money to hold the tax rate. Everybody knows taxes go up and things cost more every day, but there's only so much money that we have in the bank to work with for this year, next year, or any other year following this one. If we use it all, or a third or part of it this year, and the following year, they decide that they're not gonna jump the tax rate, and nothing happens as new builds or income to come in, it will leave us in a mess at some point. Thank you.
Turn my mic on. Deputy Mayor, I know you weren't feeling well tonight, and you have nothing, okay? But I thank you for being here tonight because I know you weren't feeling well. And so it's just great to have you in attendance tonight, and I really appreciate it to have you here tonight. So I'm going to go to my far right. No, I won't go to Kathy. I'll go to Councillor Lee.
Councillor Thompson echoed pretty much what I had to say, both these, holding these tax rates and, you know, I mean, hopefully we're gonna grow enough to get an increase in, you know, taxes for us. But if we don't, and the whole government holds the taxes again next year, I'm not sure we're gonna be able to, it's not sustainable to use capital money to hold taxes. It's nice this year, everybody gets a break, but I don't see a big increase coming next year until we get our big projects on the go finished, and so enjoy it this year. They're probably not gonna happen next year unless the whole government doesn't do what I think they'll do and hold taxes. We'll probably be all right, because the tax assessments are going to go up, I'm sure. And these are all just assumptions, but the other thing, Councillor Dadarakis mentioned the childcare facility. We do have to iron that all out. We're gonna build this thing. So how are we gonna do it? There was some suggestions there on the money, where we're gonna get it, and, you know, we're gonna get it. But I think we should have something. It's hard to plan, though, if you don't know what the building's actually gonna cost. I do get that, and Mayor, our worship mentioned that, and that's a little bit of a contention for me to allocate $300,000-$400,000 or whatever we're gonna put into this building before we know actually what it is gonna cost us, because the feds and the province are still gonna give us money towards this building. It's gonna be a set figure. There's no percentages like we originally thought, 60-40 or something like that, Jason. But I think we're gonna get 1.2 million total now, 500 from the province and 750 from the feds. That's what we're gonna get. So on a $3 million building, and that's just an assumption too, it's gonna cost that much, we gotta come up with some cash, and we will, because it's an absolute necessity for the area. People cannot come here and have no place to send their children through the day and work, so that's the only thing. As far as the budget goes, it's pretty clear what's going on with all that, and if we can get our projects sorted out and where we're gonna get the money and put that on paper, it would be awful nice. But if not, if we can't get it done right now, I mean, we'll do it later, but it's worth a talk. That's all I've got.
Great, thank you, Councillor Lee, I appreciate it. I'm gonna go to Councillor Tidd at this point.
Yeah, I guess I would just echo some comments here. The cap on assessed value sounds good. I've dealt with assessments for 17 years in a prior career. When you're using 40% of your capital in a budget, that's not good, and that's not sustainable to the municipality. If the cap continues to be in place for any more than this year, then we're gonna have to take a serious look at where we're gaining our revenue side from, because to use all your capital reserve to hold tax rates, that's not sustainable either, right? So in regards to childcare, I believe it's the #1 issue of this council, that we should have childcare. I have kids. They could take advantage of having childcare. But I also think that we do need to know the total cost. And as far as the amount of money, we do have money that we can use for this project. I don't know if it has to be part of the budget per se, because we have reserves set aside that we could utilize for that. So to have it as a line in the budget, we really don't know what that cost is. So, you know, until we do, I think, you know, we're gonna have to get some hard figures, and hopefully they're forthcoming before too much longer. Thanks.
Oh, you're finished? Okay, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Councillor McKay, you're next.
I can't say anything more or anything better than any of the councillors have said, so I'm going to stay silent. You've done a good job, guys.
Okay, at this point, everybody's had an opportunity to speak tonight, and again, I want to thank CHCO for coming out tonight. I really appreciate it. I know the roads aren't great, and I want to thank Patrick Watt for for chauffeuring these ladies around tonight, oh, the ladies are driving, okay, you're being chauffeured, I'm sorry. Florence is the driver, I'm sorry. Anyways, it's great to have you here tonight, and I want to, again, wish everybody a Merry Christmas, coming up in just a couple of weeks. And the next steps for this budget is we hope this council will be looking at, it'll be on the next week's regular council meeting, and the hope is to be able to pass it at next week's regular council meeting. So at this point, it is still a draft budget. It's not written in gold, but it is draft, and in about another week, the hopes are to be able to pass that at a regular council meeting. So at this point, I need a motion for adjournment. Councilor McKay, thank you very much. Great, thank you.
Count on me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, you got your hat on, ready to go head out the doors.